for the opening spot of Augie T.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No, you are sitting down. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have our first contestant. Could you please make a round of applause for Ziz?
Yeah! The king is here!
You sit there the whole time? Get off the stage. Alright, you guys. Welcome to Tin Can. Thank you, Shaggy, for that amazingly long introduction. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Ziz. Z-I-Z.
Ziz!
Okay, with a name like Ziz, you get teased a lot growing up. Mostly in middle school. I got called Zitz. That was the first thing, you know. Even though I didn't have very many, it was always, hey, what's up, Zitz? How's it going, Zitz? And I got pretty old pretty quick. And then high school came along, and some witty motherfucker's like, hey, this guy's name rhymes with jizz. And it didn't help that I was small and white. The jokes kind of wrote themselves. Anyway, you don't get teased a lot without making up some pretty good comebacks.
That's funny!
You're next, buddy. You gotta get up here. Anyway, one day, this chick came up to me, this really tall, popular girl. She looked down on me. She's like, how's the weather down there, Jizz? I just looked up at her and spat in her eye and said, it seems to be raining, bitch. Yeah, I was pretty proud of that. Anyway, sometimes you get to thinking, you know, you look up at the stars and you realize how small we all really are. Well, I just crush ants and feel better. You know, I like to swear a lot on farms. That way I can say words like cock and jackass and pussy and have an excuse. Well, anyway, I'm dressed kind of like a badass tonight. I don't know if any of you guys notice. But I'm about to tell you guys a story that earns me the right to wear this fucking leather jacket on a Tuesday night in Maryland. So I'm driving back from Paia, right? I thought I would have a place to stay. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And my friend, who's actually in the audience right now, I'm not going to point him out because he's such a fucking jackass. He thought I would have a place to stay, but I didn't. So I was driving back home to Kiev, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm listening to Cake on the radio, my iPod's all plugged in, I'm driving along North Kiev Road, and I fall asleep behind the wheel. And my Jeep has this tendency to veer to the right. So the Jeep veers to the right, I'm sleeping. The front end, right side, hits a big Kiave tree. Going like 50, the car turns sideways, goes up on the wheels, flips over in the air, lands, does another 360, whatever, lands on its roof. And I wake up in the air, I remember the thought. I'm just like, oh fuck, I'm dead. So I land, right? I'm in the air, upside down, I can smell smoke, I'm like, oh crap, this is where I die. I'm dying right here. So, I have the common knowledge to like undo my seatbelt. I'm hanging from my seatbelt. Thank God I'm wearing my seatbelt. There's fucking blood dripping out of my nose. My nose is entirely broken. Blood all over my shirt, blood all over everything. And all I'm thinking is get the fuck out of the car before it explodes. I feel like I'm in a fucking action movie. So I'm elbowing the window because it's shut and the car is shut off, right? So I can't unroll it. Luckily, the passenger side window is open. I undo my seatbelt, I fall to the roof of the car, I crawl out of the passenger side window. Like bleeding all over the ground, crawling on my freaking arms, until I'm like 30 feet away from the car and I just collapse. And luckily someone on the side of the road, they were like cleanup or something, cleaning up the road at 4 o'clock in the morning. They call the ambulance. The ambulance is there within like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh shit. I'm gonna have to pay for a hospital bill. So the ambulance shows up, and they put me in the stretcher. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Just leave. But bleeding all over the place. They think I'm gonna die, so it's their responsibility, right? They gotta take me in. So I'm in the ambulance, in the stretcher. Luckily, I grabbed my iPod before I got out of the car, and I'm listening to Cake in the ambulance. I'm kind of grooving on it. It's kind of nice. It was Shadow Stabbing. It's a good Cake song. But anyway, it should have been Long Line of Cars. Anyway, so I'm driving in the ambulance. I'm having some conversation. They're asking me all my personal information. I don't want to give them anything because I know they're going to bill me for it. So they're like, I get all the way to the hospital, get on the hospital bed, and they think I'm driving under the influence. I'm just tired. I fell asleep behind the wheel, but they have to like take blood and give me like a drug test and shit. So the cops are there, like taking blood, and I'm just like, let me out of this fucking hospital. So, interesting fact, if you decline service, if you don't sign the little paper that checks you into the hospital, you can walk out whenever you want. So I'm bleeding, I've got blood all over me, like down to my shoes, and I just don't sign the paper. And they're like, well, I guess you can go. You might have internal injuries and you might die, but we can't really keep you here. So what I do, pretty good idea I think, I just walk out of the emergency room doors, and my nose is still broken and I've got blood coming down and shit. I walk around, and I walk in the front of the hospital where the guests usually come in. And the receptionist is like, what the fuck? And I'm like, can you direct me to your bathroom? So I get to the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and I look like a badass. I'm just like, oh man. I've got blood all over me, dried on, crusted on, blood in my hair, because I was upside down. Like, my hair is all crazy up in the air, blood everywhere. And I actually, like in the movies, I put my hand on my nose, it's all over to the side, and it goes, and I straighten my own nose in the mirror of the bathroom of the hospital.
Yeah.
And I clean myself up, and I walk out of the hospital, and I walk away. And that makes me a badass.
Yeah.
And if anyone calls me Jizz, I'm gonna kick your ass. You know, I used to be scared coming up here. I mean, it's open mic, you know, people get jittery and stuff, whatever. And then I realized, what do I care what a bunch of fucking drunks think about me on a Tuesday night? So for any of you guys thinking about starting open mic comedy, just have that in your minds. And they give you a little confidence.
Give it up for Zez.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm sorry. I listened to that whole thing. Your name is Jizz. Oh. What? No. Think about it. I'm lying.